Welcome back. We're making butter today. So this is organic whipping cream. It doesn't say heavy whipping cream, but typically you want heavy whipping cream to make butter or to make whipped cream, which will show both. You can shake the whipping cream up, or we got so much that we're using a mixer. This is not the ideal paddle. A whisk attachment would be better, but that's what we have today. And we found that it works okay. It just probably takes a little longer. So we almost never use this cover, but it splashes, especially early on and towards the end. So I will start it slow. Once the whipping cream gets a little bit of body to it, you can turn it up a little higher. Our mixer has a timer on it and it will stop at 15 minutes. So it stopped, it's gone for 15 minutes, and we've got a lot of froth on the top, but we're not quite at whipped cream. So I'm going to turn it back on, and we might be able to turn it on a little bit higher. Okay, so this is about half whipped, and like I said, the whisk would do better job. We're almost at whipped cream stage. So you can see that this is pretty much whipped cream, and because we're not using the whisk, it's a little bit harsher of whipped cream. But you can see here a nice thick cream, and sometimes I'll pull some off for my wife, mix it up with some maple syrup, because that's a little bit less in sugar, supposedly. And then we got some nice whipped cream. Then the next stage will be getting to butter. You have to be careful at this stage, because if you mix it too much, it starts to separate, and it tastes really great, but it makes your stomach feel like you just drank oil.
So good.
You can see I can turn it up a little higher now because it's thicker. But when it starts to become butter, then it separates the liquid away, and faster will make it splash more. It's thick enough to hold on the side, but it's starting to get heavy and fall off the side. It's starting to separate really light. The separation is getting to the next stage where it's starting to get wet and hard and separate, and you can see the sides are starting to slide down. I'll probably go ahead and scrape them down now. You can see I've gone ahead and scraped the bowl down, and if you look here, you can see the separation where there's a lot of water looking, which is the buttermilk, and here shortly it'll separate to the point where it goes from white to yellow, which is kind of crazy. Alright, here we go. You can see the liquid pooling off. I normally don't turn it down as I go, but I'm doing so for the recording. You can start to see that the liquid is splashing more because the butter is starting to come together more. Here's the butter. Alright, so I'm spilling out the buttermilk, trying to hold most of the butter back. And you can use the buttermilk for cooking, or if it's fairly fresh, it's not too sour, but it goes sour really fast. So if it's fairly fresh, it's not bad to drink either, from what I've found. I'm putting the butter in plain clear water, but you can see that it's starting to get murky. That is the buttermilk being rinsed out of the butter, which is very important so that the butter doesn't spoil right away. You want cold water, and that keeps the butter hard. So I have a little bit of ice in. Alright, let's see if we can get more buttermilk out. I'm just squeezing the butter. We're trying to get any buttermilk that might be trapped inside the butter out so that it doesn't spoil. So that's pretty clean. Now we gotta make sure to squeeze the water out. I squeezed the butter on the side of the bowl here, and I'm able to just pour the water off, and the butter stays. Next is salting it. I think it's recommended to use about a teaspoon of salt per pound. We probably have about a pound or a pound and a half, so we'll start with about a teaspoon. And this is real salt, so we actually have an easier way to see it because of the pink coloring in the salt. Not everybody likes salt in their butter, but we do, so we'll salt our butter. Sometimes it doesn't dissolve as well, so if you have any suggestions on that, that'd be great. I use this glass container, somewhat like a mold, so then it'll come out like store-bought butter in sticks. So at this point I have a little bit of butter left over, and I'm going to go ahead and mix some spices into it. Last time I did this, I made a mistake when I was doing that, and I started at the beginning of the butter and mixed some garlic in it. And now I'm just hoping that all the rest of the butter doesn't have a soft hint of garlic. The garlic butter is really nice for cooking steak or anything really that you'd want to season. And there's our probably pound and a quarter of butter. We'll put that in the freezer. Then I'll take this and mix in some spices. We freeze our butter until we're ready to use it. They harden pretty quick, but you can leave them in the freezer overnight or whatever you want, and then all the extra butter will chip off and you can just throw it in a saute pan. And here's our butter, nice and hard and a little formed. This is the big butter haul from a couple different batches. Shout out to Beth, who helped out with some different ideas and suggestions. Seeing some of this on YouTube. And of course my friend Sarah, who would probably like the garlic butter. Have you ever had somebody say that there's too much butter? I don't believe so.
Alright.
Build better butter.